Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
We are ready for the event, Houston.
CBS News, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Bill Harwood with CBS News. How do you hear me?
We have you loud and clear. Welcome aboard the space station.
Well, thank you very much, and we really appreciate you taking the time to chat. And, you know, you took a fantastic photo of the Crew Dragon coming in against the limb of the Earth the other day. Tell me what this mission means to NASA and its importance for ending the agency's sole reliance on Russia to get astronauts to and from the station.
Well, when I took that picture and shared that out, you know, I commented the fact that this is a new era of spaceflight. And that's absolutely what we feel. We've been feeling this build since 2014 when these contracts were first awarded to Boeing and SpaceX for delivery of astronauts to low Earth orbit so that NASA and our international partners can continue exploration to deep space, starting with the Moon and Mars and the future Gateway. And so what this is a very significant step that marks opening up of the low Earth orbit to commercial companies, not only to shuttle NASA, but perhaps other customers. You know, this is a model where NASA is one customer of many, and so I think that the possibilities are endless for low Earth orbit for science research and commercial companies.
I'm going to come back to that in just a minute, but for as long as I've got you with the mic, Ann, you know, you guys are going to be joined next week by 3 new crew members, including Nick Hague and Christina Cook, and you get to do 2 EVAs, we hear, including one with Christina. So you guys will be the 13th and 14th women to walk in space, I think, since 1984. Is that significant to you? I mean, how should we view that?
Yes, we do have the new crew coming up. We have 3 EVAs scheduled at the end of March. We are very fortunate to work with a very highly skilled and highly trained crew. As far as the significance, you know, I really believe that the fact that we don't really have to talk about it too much when we're making crew assignments shows that I think that we are really just, I suppose, symptoms that you know, equality's been reached. When NASA makes crew assignments, that's not something that they take into account. And so we're really focused on that first spacewalk on March 22nd, and plans for spacewalks after that won't be finalized until after we know the results of that one.
Well, when that does happen, and I understand exactly what you're saying, I've had the same thought myself, but I guess just because it's only happened 12 times in the past over, you know, with scores of male spacewalkers, does that make you a role model, whether you want to be or not? I mean, do you think young women can look at this as another sign that even in space, these doors are now open?
Well, I certainly do think that representation is important for a lot of people, a lot of kids. If they want to grow up and be astronauts, you know, it's important for a lot of people to look out and see someone that looks like them. And you know, what I always tell them is to keep their head down and keep working. And if I can be an inspiration to any child that wants to grow up and get into the business of space exploration, then I'm absolutely thrilled to do so.
I assume you and Christina have trained together. I just was wondering briefly what you look forward to the most about putting that helmet on and going out the door.
Well, for me, I've wanted to be an astronaut since I was 3 years old, and certainly, you know, when you picture an astronaut out on a spacewalk, that's kind of the quintessential, you know, moment of becoming, you know, when you want to be an astronaut when you're little, that's kind of what you think about. So for me, honestly, my head's down in preparations. There's no routine day in spaceflight. Spacewalks are one of the more riskier things that we do up here, and so it's very important that we're keeping our heads down, we're focused on our task, and I suppose after it's all gone successfully, then I'll step back and kind of take it all in.
Thank you very much, and let me get a quick one in for David, if I could. You know, David, you were the board engineer co-pilot during your launch aboard the Soyuz, and I saw you inside the Crew Dragon, and in that wide-angle lens, it looks fairly roomy in comparison. What are your impressions of this new spacecraft?
It certainly physically looks kind of very slick inside. The Soyuz, as you know, has gone through decades of iterations, of improvements, of adding equipment. So, you know, any spacecraft ends up looking the way it looks. So I don't know how it will be to fly the Dragon. I've not had that training. The one thing that I enjoyed about the Soyuz was this notion that there is in most cases a way for the crew to act manually and take over should something go wrong. Maybe a reflection of the times when it was designed. Crew Dragon, it was a beautiful moment to see it approach. You saw that amazing photos that Anne was able to take. And it is a moving moment to see the opening of a new chapter where we have this new possibility, a new tool in our quiver for space exploration.
Station, this is a station. That concludes the CBS News portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from NBC News.
This is NBC News Washington. Do you copy?
Copy. Standing by. We have you loud and clear. Welcome aboard the International Space Station.
Hi, guys. Nice to see you. It's Tom Costello at NBC News in Washington. I'd love to talk to you about rugby and my kid's sore throat, doctor, but why don't we cut right to the chase if we could? I'll tell you what, Dr. Saint-Jacques, can we begin with your thoughts about how we are now looking at a new era in space? Are you guys excited about following the SpaceX launch, and now we've got a Boeing mission coming up? Does it feel to you like a new day has dawned?
I tell you what, the way that you said it absolutely right. The new day has dawned. This is the dawn of a new era in spaceflight, and those of us that have been involved in the business over the past years have been feeling this momentum build. And I've shared with friends and family over the past years that we are on the cusp of an absolutely amazing period of spaceflight. Never in the history of spaceflight have American astronauts, trained to fly on 4 separate vehicles and developed 4 separate vehicles at the same time, and that's what we're doing right now. So our astronaut corps of less than 60 astronauts are currently, flying and training and developing, continuing on the Soyuz. Now we have Boeing and SpaceX and Orion as well for deep space exploration. So it's absolutely amazing when you think about the destinations that we can go to, and commercializing low Earth orbit really opens up the possibilities not only for NASA but for industry.
All right, I'll tell you what, Colonel, can I stick with you for just a minute here? I hate to ask a redundant question, but we all have to ask Tom questions on our own time. You are about to participate in an all-female spacewalk, and I'm wondering, does that also feel like, breaking barriers?
I do understand that. I think that's how it can be seen. I think from our perspective, we're really focused on our first spacewalk on March 22nd. And then we kind of, these events are very significant, they're very complicated, and they're one of the riskier tasks that we undertake. And so up here on Space Station, our heads are down, we're focused on the work, and I think maybe after that I'll have time to reflect on it.
But you've been a groundbreaker. I'm going to just push the point for a minute, Colonel. You've broken a lot of ground in your career. It has to feel rewarding that you're going to be part of this team, an all-female team on a spacewalk.
I tell you, the team of 4 astronauts that we have here, with David and Nick, Christina, and myself, I couldn't ask for a better team. I think even more significant is that this is all of our first space flight. And so we have been entrusted to do 3 spacewalks with 4 first-time flyers. And our training has prepared us for this moment. We are ready for the technical tasks, and we're really looking forward to doing the mission.
All right, one more question for you, Colonel, and then David. But, Colonel, talk to me quickly now, if you don't mind. The Today Show tomorrow is going to be celebrating International Day of the Woman. And you've got a unique vantage point from up there looking down on the entire globe. What is your message to women around the world and young girls and women on this International Day of the Women? We'll put this on the Today Show.
I think that that my career and perhaps me being up on the International Space Station can really show women and girls and everybody that hey, we're not just sitting at the table, we're leading the table. There's no excuses. You can accomplish whatever you want to. You just gotta throw your hat in the ring. You gotta get out there and do it.
And Dr. Saint-Jacques, I don't want to miss an opportunity to ask you as well. The Canadian up on board that space station, what does it feel like to you to have now, it appears to be the dawn of a new era in manned spaceflight to the space station and beyond?
Yeah, you put it well. It is really an emotional moment. It was an emotional moment to see the docking. We're kind of already sad to imagine that Dragon, we're going to have to bid farewell to Dragon. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, really, there is an amazing momentum around the world led by the United States and NASA. And I'm very proud, particularly, that Canada has joined the bandwagon on the next step. And we're going to join to the projects of Gateway and then hopefully further on to Mars. And all these futuristic dreams, we can see a glimpse of them with things like Crew Dragon. It really is rare, of course, that we have new spacecraft, so this is a moment to cherish, and it's kind of fun to let your imagination go run wild into what this could lead us to.
Congratulations to you both. Thank you for your time.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the NBC News portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from ABC News.
Station. Station, it's David Curley, ABC News. How do you hear me?
We have you loud and clear. Welcome up to the International Space Station.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. Heard your words on the welcoming ceremony for Crew Dragon. They were quite touching. What were you hoping to accomplish with what you said as this space capsule arrived at station?
You know, when we come up to the International Space Station and we can look back at our Earth, and it's this marrying up of an amazing view of our planet while sitting inside some of the most advanced technology that's ever been developed by humans across the world. And it gives you this perspective of really what we're capable of when we focus on our common interests instead of our differences. Every single day we work with people across the globe who are driven by a passion for exploration and a desire to go beyond where humans have ever gone before. And when you get that perspective, you feel this obligation to share it with people. You feel like if you could just tell everybody, if you could make everybody feel the way that you feel and see the things that you see, we could just do even more amazing things. So the message that I really hope to communicate was to tell everybody, like, hey, look what we can do when we really work together.
That was a first, having a private capsule arrive. Another first is coming, potentially you and Christina out, the first all-female spacewalk. Are you thinking about that?
The spacewalks that are coming up, we have 3 spacewalks scheduled at the end of March and the beginning of April for our for the crew of the 4 of us. And we're absolutely thinking about the EVAs. We've been preparing for the EVAs, the spacewalks, for months now. And as we get closer, our first spacewalk is on March 22nd, and the teams are all diligently preparing for it, and we are looking forward to it.
But it'll be historic. Did you get that? It'll be historic, all female.
Yes, the second one, depending on the outcome of the first spacewalk, the second one right now is scheduled for Christina and myself to continue the upgrades on the outside of the space station. We understand that it is significant historically. I think right now our teams, we have so much to focus on and prepare for up here that our heads are kind of down. But we certainly understand the significance of it. And hopefully, in the future, it won't be such a surprise to folks. NASA certainly doesn't take it into account when making crew assignments. It just kind of happened that way, which in and of itself is probably a sign of where we're at.
Before I get to David, I talked to Nick Hague. He says he's a rookie now coming up, and you're going to have to show him any rookie pranks planned that you can tell us about?
Well, yeah, we've been talking a lot about tricks on the ascent. We're both the kind of co-pilots of the Soyuz, so there's a lot of tricks that we share among ourselves. And then how to prepare really is the most important. And what we find, we regularly tell people is, once you get to space station, there's procedures, there's ground control, there's your colleagues who've been there several months. You'll be okay. What you really have to prepare for is your family, your loved ones. Kind of wrap up things. Make sure you leave with no loose ends because you never know what happens here first. And B, it's kind of difficult to manage your life when you're up here. We are really in an extreme place. Doesn't look like here. It's very comfortable, but we are on orbit, so you don't want to have to manage your bank account or prepare presents for your kids while up here. It's better to plan all that while you're on the ground.
I wondered whether you were going to prank him on station, but let's move on. David, you were the first into the capsule, the Dragon capsule. Did you slide into the seat? How did it feel?
Yeah, so I had I guess I pulled the lucky straw there, and was the first one to open that hatch. But as everything we do here, and Anne put it well previously, it's kind of a mixture of magic and of just very mundane technicalities. I was focused on getting the steps right because it's whenever you do something new for the first time, you got to get extra focus because it's the first time, right? You're just reading this from procedures or from training. So even though it was historic and emotional, we were really heads down, making sure we were doing everything step by step correctly. But I had these moments of wow, aha, when kind of the light of the inside and the view of the beautiful cockpit, it kind of looks a bit like a business class spacecraft.
I think we're out of time. Both of you, thank you very much. ABC's signing off.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you, CBS News, NBC News, and ABC News. Station, we are resuming operational audio comm.